So the rumor is down here in Georgia that the Republicans here in Georgia cannot stand Donald Trump. Why? Because of the position that he put them in regarding the 2020 election. So when Donald Trump put this out on Truth Social, a large, complex, detailed, but irrefutable report on the presidential election fraud, which took place in Georgia, is almost complete and will be presented by me at a major news conference at 11 a.m. on Monday of next week in Bedminster, New Jersey. Based on the results of this conclusive report, all charges should be dropped against me and others. There will be a complete exoneration. They never went after those that rigged the election. They only went after those that fought to find the riggers. Now, I talked about this yesterday and I said, yeah, the investigators did their job. They went after those that were trying to rig the election, and that was Donald Trump and his gang of criminals. Well, after he put that out on Truth Social, Brian Kemp, governor of Georgia, basically said, you know what? Enough is enough. I am responding to this batshit crazy man. And this is what Brian Kemp had to say. The 2020 election in Georgia was not stolen. For nearly 3 years now, anyone with evidence of fraud has failed to come forward under oath and prove anything in a court of law. Our elections in Georgia are secure, accessible, and fair, and will continue to be as long as I am governor. The future of our country is at stake in 2024, and that must be our focus. All of news media is praising Brian Kemp on rotation. Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, also made a small statement. My number one job is making sure that we have secure, accurate elections here in Georgia. We've done that. And then he goes on to cite a poll conducted by the University of Georgia and MIT that showed 98.9% of Georgia voters reported no issues casting ballots in the 2022 midterm election. Brad Raffensperger also noted that Georgia is top ranked for election integrity by the Bipartisan Election Policy Institute and number 2 in rankings published by the Heritage Foundation, a right-leaning public policy organization. Now, we've talked about the Heritage Foundation, right? So he's quoting from the Heritage Foundation. Listen, I agree with Brad Raffensperger. The 2020 elections went off without a hitch, in my opinion. There were some problems, long-ass lines. But other than that, I believe when I casted my vote, that my vote would be counted and it would be secure. Now, I believe he's the CEO of the state. He reposted this article with Brad's quote in it, and he added his own caption. Georgia is a leader in safe, secure, accurate elections. Secretary of State Raffensperger knows Georgia is a model voting system. Those saying otherwise are sadly misled or engaging in a grift. To me, he came around with the knockout punch. But listen, like I said, I agree that the elections and the votes are secure here in the state of Georgia. However, let's not be mistaken. As we're watching Republicans praise Brian Kemp and Brad Raffensperger for how they stood against Donald Trump with that phone call, and now with pushing back on the lies that Donald Trump is trying to put out there on social media. These same individuals used Donald Trump's lies of election fraud to impose new policy when it comes to elections that suppress the votes of Black people and people of color. That's right. They now allow people to come in to contest a voter. A voter has to, if somebody comes in to contest a voter, that voter then has to come down and prove they have a right to vote. And in those long lines I talked about, lines 13 and 15 hours long, nobody can go down the line and pass out water or food to people who are standing in these long ass lines. And where do you find these long ass lines? In my neighborhood, the black neighborhood, all put in place to try to keep us from voting. More restrictions when it comes to mail-in ballots, and definitely they have reduced the amount of drop-off boxes for those who have, the ability to mail in their ballot but can drop it off in a box. Yeah, they reduced the number of drop-off boxes. So while you're watching news media praise Brian Kemp and Brad Raffensperger, just know they smell like shit too. I'll see y'all later.